So today we're going to do the handover video on the Laika Kosmo 512. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, I'm just going to open up the door. You'll notice on the passenger side that you've got your fill-up points, which are just here. Open that up, you've got your AdBlue below and your diesel up at the top. Your AdBlue will all be topped up from factory, so there's no need to worry about that. And you can see on the door sill, just here, you have got your tyre pressures. On the passenger side, you have got bonnet release catch, which is just here. That releases the front bonnet, just at the front. Moving around, one thing to notice before we go under the bonnet is in the cab you have got press studs along the front, which will allow you to black out the entire cab. And if you wanted, you can purchase some silver screens which will stop the heat from escaping on the inside of the van. Underneath the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know. The main things that you need to know is if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. I'll lift the bonnet up for you now and show you how that is done. So with the bonnet lifted, as you can see, your negative terminal is just straight in front of you onto this nipple here, and then the positive terminal is just underneath here. As you can see, it is covered by a cap which has a little plus sign on there just to indicate that that's the positive terminal. Now that's the main things that you're going to need to know, but just to point out a couple more, you can see that you've got your engine oil here. You've then got your brake disc fluid, your engine coolant, and then your washer fluid, which is just in there. Moving around the van, you've got your habitation door on this side, as you can see, along with your two fridge vents. Now, with regards to your fridge, what you've got to bear in mind is if you have got the sun beating down on this side of the vehicle, your fridge isn't going to work as efficiently. Do bear that in mind. So if you can, keep this area under shade or just turn it round, because this is where the fridge pulls all of its air from. So just be mindful of that if it is a hot summer's day. Moving towards the back, you've got a big opening here for your garage. Just opening up this, as you can see, allows you access into the garage. At the back here, you have a 230 volt socket, along with the necessary tie down points to tie down your belongings on the inside of the vehicle. You've got an island bed at the back of this model, and as you can see on the two rails, you can raise and lower this. Somewhere in the vehicle, you'll have a pole which just connects onto this little point here. You can then wind the bed up and down depending on the height of it. Now getting in the garage, as you can see on the top of here, indicates where your fresh water tank is. You've got three main drain down points in the vehicle. You've got your fresh water drain down point, your wastewater drain down point, and finally your boiler drain down point. Your wastewater for your your drain down point for the fresh water is obviously on the inside of the vehicle underneath here. Your drain down point for the boiler is also on the inside, which I'll show you later, and your wastewater is external to the vehicle, which we'll move on to soon. For the fresh water, all you need to do, pop this up and it gains you access to the large freshwater tank here. You've got about 120 litres of fresh water, and as you can see on here, you've got a little dial here where you can open and close the drain down point. The dial is just on the side here, a little bit hard to see with the lighting, but it's just here. I'll stick my finger on it for you there, and all you need to do to open that is to turn it, and that will open up the fresh water. Now in here there's a little lug. If you keep on turning, you hear a click. What that will do is it'll stop draining, and it'll drain everything or the entire tank down to 20 litres, and it'll stop at 20 litres. In essence, what that is it's a quick drain down point. So for example, if you're moving off site and you're still moving on with water and you're going on to the next site and you want to keep a bit of water in because you're not sure whether you're going to get any water when you get onto the next site, or you want to keep a bit in for a cup of tea, you can drain the entire thing down to 20 litres. And 20 litres, if you are travelling with the water, is the maximum you want to really travel with due to payload and weight distribution. If you are draining down the entire thing, all you need to do is keep turning past that lug, keep like so, and that'll empty the entire system. Now, whilst on the topic of drain down points, what I say is, as a rule of thumb, obviously if you aren't using the vehicle, you need to of course drain everything down, and as you're travelling home, leave all your drain down points open, because as you're travelling, the vast majority of the water is going to come out when travelling home due to the vibrations from the road. Obviously when you're on site, drain down the majority of the water there, but then if there's any residual, that will eventually come out when travelling home. In the back here you can see that you've got your jack system as well, along with 2 chairs which just simply slot in to the points at the front here, which allow you to face forward for your passengers. I'll show you how that is done later on. On the top there you've also got your blinds, which, as I mentioned on the at the start, you will black out the entire cab from the inside. Walking around the vehicle towards the back, you can see you've got your reversing camera up at the top, and another access point for the garage on the other side of the vehicle. Coming to this point here, you can see you have a little cap, and this is for your freshwater tank. So when you're on site and you want to fill up the tank with water, all you need to do, open this up, undo this, and then put a food grade hose pipe into here. That'll allow you to fill the entire system, and then when it's flowing out, you know that it's full. Once you're at that point, stick the cap back on and you can carry on to your pitch. Moving on from the water, next you see you've got your locker here, and this is for your gas locker. To place the bottles in, all you need to do is pull down this metal frame, and then you can put the bottles in, and using these straps you can tighten them in place. You can see you can have a pigtail rather, which will connect the bottles, and then you can turn the bottle on to allow that to flow through the van, so you can then use the gas. Due to safety, you need to make sure that when travelling the bottle is always turned off, to ensure there's no gas within the system in the events of a crash. But when on site, of course, you can turn that gas on. Moving on, you've then got your hookup point. This is where you can plug the vehicle into mains electric and get your 230 volt power. So when you're on the campsite, this is where you'll plug into. And then next, you've got your cassette toilet. I'll open that up for you now. So here's the cassette toilet. Now the main thing that you need to know with the cassette is to always make sure that the blade on the toilet is closed. If it is open, what you'll do is when you come to remove this, it will get jammed and get stuck. What I've then had in the past is people have then gone to pull it and ultimately forced it and broken the system, and then you need a new cassette. So please make sure that the blade on the toilet is closed before removing the cassette, and I'll show you how to do that on the inside of the vehicle. So once that blade is closed, you can open this up and slide out the cassette like so. I'll just place this on the ground. Now as you can see, to empty this, all you need to do is pull out the funnel, remove this cap like so, and then using the orange little button on the back, click that, which will release an internal vacuum, and that will empty the entire contents of the cassette. You can then put a bit of water in there just to flush it out, and again just empty that in the space which is given to you on the campsite. If you want, you can get some blue fluid, which is purifying fluid, which you put in the top of here and then stick in the cassette like that. What I personally recommend is getting toilet sachets from Thetford, and they can just be simply put into the toilet directly, and then that way there's no staining, and that will purify the contents and just break down the waste. Now before putting this back in, you will notice that you have got a little yellow orange toggle here, which does turn like so. This is in essence what makes contact with the blade. If this is off for whatever reason, this will not slide in correctly. You need to always make sure it's in this position. You should never need to touch this. This should always be in this position. When sliding in and sliding out, you should never really need to touch it. When sliding in, all you need to do, simply line it up and push the cassette in like so. So the little handle here slots in, and then it's secure, as you can see. Moving away from the cassette, you can see that you have got a vent here just to air out the system, and directly below that you have got your next drain down point, which is the wastewater drain down point, as indicated by the grey tap. This is the only drain down point which is external to the van, and to empty that you'll need this little handle which has got a little square end which simply connects up to this black pipe. It's quite difficult to see on the video, just there. Connect that on and then pull that down to empty the entire system. That'll open the system, and as I say, similar to the wastewater, to the fresh water, on site you'll have a big grid that you drive over, and you can simply turn that valve to empty the system. Moving away from that, you can see you've got another vent here. This is for your Truma heating system. This does get very hot, do bear that in mind, don't hang anything on there, but that is in essence your chimney for the vehicle. Now that does conclude the outside of the vehicle. We're now going to move on to the inside and show you the bits on inside of there. Now in the vehicle you can see that you've got your lounge at the front with directly above your drop down bed, which is just there. With your drop down bed you can keep all your bedding on there. What we do just say is with your pillows, stick them at the front or store them elsewhere, and then the bed can be taken all the way up. Now to operate the bed, as you can see where your kitchen area is, next to a 230 volt socket here, you've got your control panel. Click this button here, and that will drop the bed down like so. Hold that button on, and then it'll stop automatically when it's at its lowest point. Using the ladders in the back, you can then hook them on and gain access to the bed at the front. Using the panel again, take the bed up like so until it goes all the way up to the top. You have got netting on there as well, just in case young ones are using the bed so they don't fall out, and you can access that just underneath the mattress. Moving back up to the habitation area, you'll notice you've got your control panel, which is just here. You've got your main Laika control panel along with your Truma heating system, which is all operated here. Now firstly, your Laika control panel is dead simple. If you click this button here, hold that, you can see all your lights go off, and that is your master switch. That'll turn everything off. Turn that back on, you can see your lights are all back on. You've got an individual light button here which controls all the lights on the inside. You've then got a button for your pump. Click that on and that'll activate the pump. And then you've got a light which controls the door light on the outside. Now before moving past the pump, you need to make sure that when you are using the pump, there is water in the system. So please make sure that you've got fresh water in the fresh water tank. Once you have got that, click that on and that'll begin pulling everything through. Now when you're on site and you want to prime your system, what you need to do is switch your pump on, come to your tap, including all your taps in fact, even your shower, turn them on and turn them to hot. What that's going to do is it's going to pull water from the fresh water tank into the system and then through the boiler. It'll then pull it through the boiler and out of the tap, and once it's running steadily, you've primed your system for your hot water. Once you've done it for hot water, do it on cold, and do this for all of your taps. The reason I always tell customers to get the fresh water through the hot tap, to get it through the boiler to begin with, is the boiler will take approximately 10 litres of water. Once you've done that, you can then turn your control panel on for the heating, which will begin heating that water. So by the time you've set up with everything, by the time you want your hot water, it should already be hot. Now it's not like a boiler system at home where it gets hot, gives you hot water instantly. It is going to take some time to heat it up, as you can imagine. So with that in mind, if you do that, if you pull it through, leave it on hot, let that heat up. By the time you want to use it, you'll be good to go. Now coming back onto your pump, once you've primed your system and it's running steadily, you're good to go. So you can turn your taps off. They've each got a micro switch which will in essence control and stop and start your pump depending on when you want it. So similar at home to when you want it. So don't worry about burning out your pump. The only time that you need to turn the pump off is if you have run out of fresh water in the water tank. Now moving on to the levels within the vehicle, you can see you have a long strip along here with a few buttons on. If I hold down the habitation battery level, you can see we're at 100% because we're plugged into mains electric. You've then got your vehicle battery level, which clicking onto here will show you your level. Again, not far off 100%. And then you can see your freshwater level, which is just the next point here. At the moment, with nothing in. Finally, you can alter the brightness of the screen, depending on, obviously, how bright you want it. And if you are, obviously, using it at night, so it doesn't keep you awake. Now that concludes the Laika control panel. Very simple, very easy to use. Moving on to the Truma heating system. A little bit more complex, but again, relatively simple. All you need to do to turn this on, hold down on the button, and that'll turn everything on. Now everything below the line is what you want to select, and as you can see, the first symbol is your vehicle's temperature. Click that using the button and you can slide through the options. You can firstly put it on 30 degrees, and if you click the button, that'll activate that and select it. Using the back button, you've then got your water heating. You've got your Eco, Hot or Boost option. Eco is approximately 40 degrees, Hot is approximately 60 degrees, and Boost will combine all of the boiler's energy on heating the water. So instead of heating the vehicle, it'll only heat the water, say for example if it's struggling. But 9 times out of 10 you'll probably have it on hot. Next, you then got the option of your fan, so you can run this off heating, off Eco, High or Boost, similar to what you could with your water. But as you can see, because I've not activated anything yet, it's only given me the option of vent. So that would just recirculate the air which is in the vehicle at the moment. So moving on now from your vent option, you can then set a timer should you want to. So you can set a time for when you want the heating to kick in, and then you've got your clock, so you can change obviously the time on it. You've then got your settings in here, and right at the end you've got the reset panel, so if you need to ever reset the system, you can do as well. And then that runs it all off the gas, and then it's all automated and you're away with that. To turn it off, all you need to do is hold the button like so, and that'll turn off the panel, as you can see. Make sure that you turn it off before moving off site. Now moving on from the control panel back into the kitchen area, you can see that you've got your hob up at the top here, which runs off gas, your oven and grill, which is below, and then your sink, which is just there. Underneath here you've got plenty of storage. You can see that you've got your welcome pack here as well, and just in there you can see you've got some grey taps. They're just isolator valves then. Just leave them as they are, they don't need turning or moving. They isolate certain areas in the vehicle and are just for the technicians to operate when working on the vehicle. You've got some more storage underneath, as you can see, which is easy to access, and your cutlery drawer up at the top there. Moving into the lounge area, you can see that, as I mentioned on the outside, you've got your seat belts here, and using the backs of the chairs, they just slot in and face forward. I'll show you how that works now. So with the cushions removed, as you can see, leaves you these access points here. They just slot into here, the backs of the chairs, and then using a little bolt on the screw, tighten that into position, and then the back of the chair will then face forward. Using this flip up, let that connect to there. It forms the base of the seat, as you can see, and then your feet can then just simply slot in, so you're facing forward. And then you've got your seat belt, which will come across you like so. Moving towards the rear, you've then got your fridge, which is up here. This is a Thetford fridge. Opening up the fridge, you've got your freezer up at the top, and then your fridge below. To operate this, it's dead simple. This is a 3-way fridge, and all you need to do is turn the on button, and click that rather, that'll turn everything on. Now, as I mentioned, this is a 3-way fridge, and the reason it's a 3-way fridge is there's 3 ways to power it. You can either power it off electric, you can power it off gas, or 12 volt, depending on what you've got on site. So for example, if you're on site on Hookup, all you need to do is select the electric element, which if I turn this on, as you can see, there's a little plug icon here, and that'll run the fridge off your 230 volt. If you are travelling, you can run it off your next option, which is your 12 volt battery. It's quite difficult to see on here, but there's just a little 12 volt battery icon there. So when travelling, you can run it off your 12 volt system, because as you're travelling, the engine battery will send a feed directly to the leisure battery, which will allow you to power the fridge. And then when you're wild camping, you can run it off your gas, which is your final element there. A lot of people think when you're stationary and you're wild camping, so you're not hooked up, you can run it off your 12 volt leisure battery. However, that's not the case. If that was, you'd simply burn out the battery, you'd have no power left. So it'll only allow you to run the 12 volt when travelling with the engine on. To turn that off, all you need to do is hold the button and it turns and powers everything down. You will have noticed when I turn that on, a little A button popped up. That stands for auto, and that will automatically assign whatever fuel you've got to the fridge. You have got the option of changing the temperature as well, and you can always reset the fridge should you select a fuel that you've not got. Below the fridge, you have a bit of storage as well, which is easy to access. And then you can see you're into the bathroom area. In the bathroom area, as we've discussed about priming your system for your shower, all you need to do is turn that on and get that primed, so you're all good, and then that works the exact same as a normal shower. But moving over to the toilet, the only thing that you need to know in here is the blade on the toilet. As I mentioned on the outside, you need to ensure that that blade is always closed when not in use. To open it, all you need to do is push this silver blade across, and that will open the cassette, so all the waste can drop into the toilet. Once you've done that, click the blue button, which will activate the flush. That'll flush the system, and then pull the blade towards you to close it. Now, you close the blade for two reasons. The main reason being is it stops the smell from escaping or any odours, and it'll also stop or put you in the habit rather of having that closed, so every time you remove this cassette, that's not open, so you can't snap and break the system. So just bear that in mind. It's worth mentioning as well that your flush, as I say, is here and will only work when your pump's on, which once you're on site and you've primed your pump, it's going to be on anyway, isn't it? When your cassette is nearly full, you'll get a red light on this little panel here, so just obviously follow that, make sure that that's emptied when you get that red light. You have a socket here in the bathroom, along with some light switches and a bit of storage that you can access as well. Now, coming into the bathroom area, you can see you've got storage at the bathroom area, rather your bedroom area coming out of the bathroom area. You can see you've got storage along the bedroom, the top of the bed, and then you've got some hanging space either side of the bed, as you can see. Now, coming back down to the floor, you'll notice as you walk into the bedroom area, you have a little panel which is cut out. Lift that up and you can see underneath here you have got your Rcd breaker. This is where, if the vehicle trips, you need to come to. You need to lift this up, and this will house all the vehicle's fuses and all the trip switches, as you can see. If this trips, you need to come to this and of course flick them switches up to ensure that you can get everything back up and running. Now, as a little bit of advice, if the vehicle trips for whatever reason and you can't get any power to the vehicle, if you click a little test button and this trips, what that means is you are getting power to the vehicle, so it's therefore not a fault with the lead or the site you're on, it's a fault with your vehicle, and from there you can check your fuses. But 9 times out of 10, if you can't get any power to the vehicle and you click that little test button and that doesn't trip, it means you're getting no power to the van, so it's therefore a fault with the sites or the hookup cable you are using. Now, finally, just moving it into the front of the vehicle, you can see I've just dismantled this front section here. And as you can see, underneath you have got your boiler. This is where the heart of the vehicle is, and this is what runs the heating for your hot water and also your vehicle's heater and temperature. It's all done here. Now it looks really complicated, don't worry, the only thing that you need to know is the drain down point on it, and this is the final drain down point, and there's a reason I've left it to last, because this drain down point is by far the most important. You need to ensure the vehicle is completely drained down when not using the vehicle, especially not in the colder months. So when not in use, drain everything down. I can't stress that enough, because if you don't, you'll simply get frozen water in the system and the entire system will break. Now your boiler is the most important. Please ensure that this is all drained down. You should always make sure your wastewater and your fresh water is as well, but this even more so. To drain that down, it's dead simple. You can see in this little hatch here, you've got a little black plastic piece here with a diamond on top. Turn the diamond like so and press the little blue tab on the inside like so. This closes the boiler, so this will allow you to hold the water in the van, so when on site you need to close it and then you can pull all the water through. 9 times out of 10 this will be open. People will try and pull water through the vehicle and they'll leave that open and it'll simply trickle out the vehicle. So with that in mind, make sure that this is always closed when in use by turning it and pushing that blue button in. Obviously when not in use, simply turn it like so. Black nib on the top pops up and the blue tab on the outside pops out. Now what this is a frost protection valve. The great thing with this is if it gets to a certain temperature and you have forgotten to drain the boiler, it acts as a fail-safe and it'll automatically drain the boiler of water. But it is a fail-safe now, which is really good, so you won't, lessens the risk of getting frozen water in the system. Now do bear in mind, if you are using this vehicle in cold conditions, and especially if you've not used the vehicle in a while, this area is going to be very cold. So you'll go to close the boiler to use it, so you'll turn the diamond like so, and you'll go to push this blue tab in. Now this plastic piece reacts to temperature, and what might happen, especially if it's cold, you'll push this blue tab in and it'll keep pinging out. The reason for that is it thinks that it's too cold to close the boiler in fear of getting frozen water in the system. Now with that in mind, all you need to do, there's no issue with that, you need to turn your heating on, let that heating run, and what that'll do is it'll heat that area up, give it about 30 minutes or so, and then you can press that blue tab in like so and close the boiler. Now I'm going to leave that open, but that's all you need to do. It's dead easy, dead simple, and then you're away. Now that concludes the handover video on the Laika Kosmo 512. I hope you enjoyed.